How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, sir.
I'm running with Cleat.
Hi, nice to meet you, Ray Garza.
All right, Ray.
Do you work for the...
I work for nobody, ma'am.
Oh, you work for yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, he's always been recording, right?
Yes.
City Council.
We want transparency in the city council, the school board, the county commissioner's court, basically, and what better way to do it than to get it on tape?
Yeah.
Because people will change their mind if it's not on tape, but whenever you can actually see it, you actually see it for yourself.
I was very transparent last night. You know, that they had already decided, made up their mind before we even got started and gave us our opinions.
Well, they did, to be fair, they did post a lot of the budget workshops, and to tell you the truth, me and somebody else were the only ones here. I mean, people do. I mean, I put it on the site. You know, if people see my
in the paper.
No,
I see it in the paper. That's where a lot of us get our news, from the paper or TV.
Yeah, 'cause I put it on. I put it on my website. You know, I put all the videos.
Sometimes I don't go to the website because I don't have the time, but I will read the paper at work. You know, I get it.
And they do post them on the newspaper, as far as I know. Whenever they're here, I mean, they have them every Tuesday. They do 72 hours before the meeting, you know, and they did have quite a few workshops, both the budget and the tax.
I'm driving by here and looking at it on the door, you know, but it was just transparent to me that they had already decided, or can't say everybody, but like Mrs. Moreno said, Morone said she hadn't decided yet, but the mayor had decided already.
Well, like I said, it's
made it her
they've talked quite a bit about it on the meetings. They had several meetings. They alerted the public to come. We came over here, and there was just one person here. You know.
I'll have to give you my number so you can let me know about everything. You can call me and invite me.
Hello, ma'am. How are you? Taking care.
here.
Okay.
So wait and see what they're going to do. Hey, Bob. You want to start? Be real quiet. I mean, I don't know how much it picks up. Does it pick up a lot?
Yeah, it picks up pretty good.
All right, my name is Perry Hyde, and I work. Is it recording?
Yes.
All right, my name is Perry Hyde, and I work for the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas. I have with me Mr. Robert Leonard. He's one of our staff attorneys as well. I want to start off by saying that this is not an attack on the sheriff's office. It's not an attack on the sheriff or any of his deputies or any county officials, but there are some things that are rather concerning, and our job is to be the voice of the police department. Our mission here is to try to preserve the police department and keep them employed. Last night there was a meeting with the city council concerning the adoption of the budget. People that were attending the meeting, if you look at it, you had the county judge, you had the sheriff, and you had several of the sheriff's administration there. This just tells me right away that this is a political move indeed. You were also told by the sheriff, if you heard the meeting, that the sheriff's office could properly police the city. I disagree with that, and in a few minutes I'm going to go into why I disagree and why I can show that's not the case. I told that there was a budget shortfall, and the whole reason for disbanding the police department was to balance the budget. I disagree with that also, and I'm going to show why in just a moment. We talked about, the city was talking about a budget shortfall, and I want to go on record as saying I don't disagree that there is a shortfall. It's very possible. I have no reason to dispute that. However, I work with cities all over South Texas, and I've never seen a city that solved an insolvency problem or a low deficit problem by eliminating a police department. In fact, the police department is generally one of the largest revenue generators that cities can employ. The budget that was presented in the 2014 and 15 budget said that there was $730+ plus thousand that were allocated for law enforcement during the 14-15 fiscal year. 444,000 of that was for the sheriff's office, and presumably the remainder went to the city marshals. Now there is a little degree of uncertainty because in most cities, city law enforcement and municipal court are two separate budget items. In this case, they're lumped into one, so it's hard to say what salaries are going where. But 444,000 was to the sheriff's office, and the remainder was to law enforcement salaries. In the 2015-2016 budget that was adopted last night, there's a line item for $154,000 that goes to creation of city marshals. Apparently, I don't know if it's 2 or 3, but the city's intent is to create a city marshal's office. And then what's funny and what's actually kind of disturbing to me is that there is a line item on the budget for the sheriff's office, but it's left blank. So the first question comes to mind: how do you balance a budget with line items that are left blank? It's not going to be free for the city to have sheriff's office law enforcement services in the county. There is going to be a fee associated with it. You also, if you were at the meeting last night, you heard from the finance director that they've had a consultant that's come in and basically was deleting line items from their account, revenues, expenditures. Wasn't very clear which, but when you're deleting expenditures or deleting revenues, there's a problem there. Something's wrong. I think the citizens of this community are being misled, and I think they're being lied to by the city council. You're also told that there's no need to have a police department because of the ticket revenue. 50% of that revenue goes to the state. Over 50% of the revenue goes to the state. That's just a bold-faced lie. It's a blatant lie. In fact, when you have municipal ticket revenue, less than 10% of that revenue goes to the state. It's not 50% as the citizens were led to believe. So when I alluded a moment ago to the sheriff's office and coverage, again, this is nothing disparaging about the sheriff or his deputies. He has the amount of deputies he has, and they have a big job to do. But in addition to, with this budget, if their task is to police Carrizo Springs, in addition to that, they have not only the unincorporated area of Dimmitt County, but they have Asherton, Catalina, Brundage, and Big Wells as well. And I can tell you for a fact that in the evening hours after 5 o'clock, I have schedules from the sheriff's office that show that you may have 2 deputies out in the evening, maybe 1 deputy overnight. So the misconception that there's plenty of deputies at all hours of the day is just that. It's a misconception. It's smoke and mirrors. If there's a major incident going on outside of Carrizo Springs and there's only 1 deputy sheriff able to handle that, certainly the city is being left unpoliced. The police department itself, aside from the chief administrator, you have 6 police officers. This police department was established by the former city council in 2014, November 2014. Now, they want to do away with the police department, but by national averages, by national standards, the population of Carrizo Springs, with that population, they should have 13 to 15 police officers to adequately staff a city of this size. This city police department has never been dispatched. They do have 2-way radios with the police department, but they do not receive dispatch calls. The sheriff's office is always dispatched. So if you have 1 deputy on duty or 2 deputies on duty, and for example, they're in Catadina and there's a major incident here, and they're tied up, a major incident there and they're tied up, you're not going to be able to get a deputy sheriff here if there's an emergency going on. And even though they're non-dispatched, all of their activity so far has been self-initiated. During this time, these officers, in the 9 months that they've been in existence, they've generated 46 information reports. They've made 114 arrests within the city for crimes such as forgery, identity theft, Class A misdemeanor theft, Class B misdemeanor theft, DWI arrest, possession of narcotics, distribution of methamphetamine. 114 arrests in 9 months, which basically equates to 16 arrests per month, 2.6 arrests per officer. These officers have been very productive, and even though all of this is self-initiated contact, they've made an impact on crime in the city. As of June, the report that was given in August, the city police department has, at this time, as of that time, issued 3,600 traffic citations, compared to last year, before the enactment of the police department, where they only had 4,100. Half the year's gone by, they've done 3,600 traffic citations. That's a ton of revenue for the city. The idea is to delete the police department, to create 2 to 3 city marshals, and to contract law enforcement services with the county. All of this was said at the budget meeting last night. The reason for doing away with the police department is to balance the budget. But I'm asking the citizens of this city to think about that for a moment. Where is the savings at? If you're paying $150,000+ to a city marshal's office, and you're paying presumably over $450,000 to the sheriff's office, where is the savings at? How is that balancing the budget? It's clear to us that the police officers, this is a political move. It's politically motivated. It does not protect the citizens of this community. It's bad for the citizens of this community, and we're asking that the citizens of Carrizo Springs stand up and tell their council that in fact they do not want this. The city council has already adopted a budget. Budgets can be amended. It's not too late, but the only way this is going to be fixed, the only way that this police department is going to be saved, is for the good citizens of this community to get involved. That's our press conference, and I appreciate your time.
You allow questions?
Any questions? Sure.
Have you actually taken a look at the bank statements and things like that?
Just
Showing
their
that
budget, not the bank statements, but I've looked at their budget.
Okay, because they're saying that the bank statement is the one that they've got like half a month worth of revenue left. They can't even pay the bills for that whole month. But yet the prior administration set up the police department for whatever reason.
Sure. And
at the time, it wasn't allotted for, as far as what they're saying. It was not allotted for. It was basically not agreed. It was not a valid move. And now we're the ones that end up having to pay for it with higher taxes and things like that. Right. Because the city is saying that they don't have the funds available for them. Everybody is saying that the city has abundant, money stored somewhere, but nobody says where.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I agree with the premise that there may be a budget shortfall. But again, my question is, if you're having a budget shortfall, you don't balance the budget on the backs of public safety. And again, if there is a shortfall, which presumably there is, how do you contract with the sheriff's office and spend presumably the same amount of money?
Well, back in the 80s, they had a police department as well.
Yes.
And we also had a oil boom back in late 70s up to about 86, something like that, in that area, 79 to 86. Don't get me, I'm just whatever I heard, because I wasn't here.
Okay.
But that's what I hear. And, of course, the population went up because of the oil boom, and that's why they brought in the police department. The same thing happened this time. We had the oil boom in 2011 or something like that up to now. Now the population has gone. Everything is deserted. We're back to basically the same numbers that we were at as far as population. So when they did take a look at the police department, is when we were over 70,000, people because of everybody from the oil boom. Now we're back to less than 10,000. Right. Yes, to the same thing.
I don't doubt that.
And from 86, whenever they closed the last police department,
right,
until now, we haven't had any major problems with the sheriff's department.
Right.
I mean, the sheriff's department has always been able to take care of the citizens and everything else.
Well, I dispute that, because I've got reports that say that, like, for example, just a few weeks ago, there was a incident at the sheriff's office in their parking lot, and they couldn't even get a deputy there because he was tied up on a rollover. To say that they're always available is just not true. There's been a lot of times where with this particular police department that they've had to respond to things that deputies eventually got to, but could not get to right away. And again, it's not their fault. That's just how it is. I mean, with their staffing in the evening, that's how it is. So I don't agree with the premise that they've always been able to take care of things. 114 arrests, 16 arrests in a month for serious criminal violations. You can't say whether it would have or would not have happened had they not been here. The likelihood is that it would not have occurred. The reason is because the officers hearing the radio are able to respond and get there prior to the deputies getting there and take care of action, whereas they were describing to me, for example, a robbery that they responded to. They were there within 3 minutes. They apprehended the suspect. They recovered the money. But yet the media went out that the sheriff's department did this. The sheriff's department got on scene after the fact, according to the police department. So again, I disagree with that premise. Secondly, I can't make it clear enough. I don't doubt that there's been misspending or there's a budget shortfall. But again, it seems like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're spending presumably the same amount of money, or very close to the same amount of money, but we're going to give it to the county versus putting it into our own police department, where we've proven we have quicker response times. Again, I think what's happening in a nutshell is we're balancing a budget on the backs of public safety, and I think the citizens are the unfortunate pawns in this game. So, and I have letters from some citizens that they've submitted to the city, some business owners, some managers of businesses that are asking, in fact demanding, that the city not disband the police department. There is, even at the meeting last night, there was substantial citizen support for the police department. This is clearly not something that the citizens at large really want. And there are a number of them here. I mean, feel free to talk to whomever, but we just don't believe that we believe public safety is being put in jeopardy if we do this.
Would you make those letters available?
Would I make what?
The letters.
Yes,
Sure. And as far as
yes,
would the organization help financially to keep the police department, would they be willing to work with the city,
with which organization?
Your organization, Cleat. Your organization, would they be willing to work with the city financially?
I work with a lot of cities. I have no problem with that.
Okay, provide financial assistance.
Would your organization help the city balance its budget with money?
My organization, Cleat, will not. Cleat does not. That's not what we do. We're a police union. I have no problem, and I don't think my boss would have any problem with me coming down and working with the city if it's going to preserve the police department.
Well, basically, what they need now is, according to them, according to everything that we've heard, is money.
Yes.
And if you're not willing to help with money, But you're advocating for it to stay open, and we pay for it. You know, it's not going to work
You're
very
paying
well.
for it one way or the other. You're going to pay for it regardless. You're either going to pay for it with the police or with the sheriff's office, but you're paying the same fee.
No, sir. The people that live in the city of Carrizo Springs will be paying double. I live in the city. I pay county taxes.
Right.
To the county. And so if I'm going to be paying more taxes so we're having a duplication of service. So how do you justify that?
I justify it by looking at the budget that was presented last night.
Okay, so
With just
how do
the
you
dollars.
justify the money?
How do you justify the money? Where do you get the money to pay the sheriff's office? Where do you get the money to pay the sheriff's office? Where do you get the money to pay for a city marshal's office? Where does that money come from? The bottom line is you're paying the same. Looking at your budget, the money is the same.
The 400,000 doesn't include dispatch. It doesn't include jail centers. So where do you? So you're not paying that? What? I know. The bottom line is, dollars are exactly the same. If you take from Peter to give to Paul, it's the same $20. It is. Look at the budget. The budget doesn't lie. The budget is an official government document. The government document says that there was $450-something thousand paid to the sheriff's office previous to this department being formulated. That stopped. It went to running the police department. There was no extra money given by the city to do the police department. They stopped giving it to the sheriff's department. It's in the budget.
The county had a contract with the city for $450,000. We provided police protection, we provided jail time, dispatching, and we provide all those services for the $450,000. Now they're paying us like $350,000 just for the dispatching and the
They don't
jail time.
dispatch for the police department.
Yes, we do. And
No, they don't.
Every police officer is telling you they don't get dispatched.
Even the sheriff told me last night that they're not. So maybe the taxpayers should look into paying for services that they're not getting. Okay, but how do you figure that we put up a new jail and a new dispatch? How do you think we're going to get that type of money?
We haven't asked to do that. All we're asking for is the money we put into the police department.
Okay.
Bottom line here, it's very simple. This is the bottom line. Again, I can't stress enough. There's nothing. We have no complaint about the sheriff's office or their ability. The officers, I'm sure, are stellar officers. There's no question about that. I even told this to the sheriff last night in the meeting. The issue is very simple, though. There's too few deputies and too big of an area to cover. And when they're outside the city limits, this city is not being policed. The officer's record, the arrest record, citations have doubled, almost doubled.
Yeah. So have you seen where they're pulling their citations from?
Well, it was said 50%. That's just a flat out lie.
Did you see where they're pulling their citations from?
Did I see what?
Did you see the report where they're pulling their citations from?
I don't think I understand what you said.
Because you said they have a lot of citations.
Yes.
Okay, did you see, have you seen on record where those citations are being pulled from?
I don't think I understand what do you mean by where they're being pulled from?
Yeah.
I would assume they're traffic citations.
Yeah, citations on Pena and the little, little traffic stop that we have over here on the curb. So that's the only two places.
No, sir. I give all throughout the city. That's nice.
I'm
But
not saying I'm
regardless,
lying.
that's city limits, and if that revenue's coming, so what? What difference does it make where they come from? If it's coming from the police officers, they're generating revenue.
Well, again, it's nothing that we're against the city police. I have dealt with helmets, respect that anybody that puts a badge on, okay? And it's really not about the performance or anybody's performance, and that needs to be understood here. It's a matter of money. It's a matter of dollars. Our city, last night people were making comments that our city is growing. It's not. It's not. The sales tax has come down. So how does the city expect to get any more revenue? You know, most of the funds that come in from the tickets not all stay within the city.
Well, it's not the 50%.
Well, then what is it? What percentage?
Less than 10.
It's less than 10%.
That's confirmable if you contact the state. That's confirmable.
In fact, it's about 7.5.
But the most important thing, sir, I think, is if you look at the budget, why was the line left blank next to the sheriff's department last night?
Because
why
it
was there no money? But the point is that it's going to be filled in at some point. So if they claim the budget was balanced last night, and that line was blank, once that line gets filled in, balance isn't going to be there anymore. is now.
But we're still going to be in $1 million deficit whether we add it in or not.
It's not a matter of spending more money. You're spending the same money but getting more police coverage. That's the position that we're taking, is that if you spend $500,000 on all of law enforcement, whether you give that to the sheriff's department or you use it on city officers, if the same money if the dollar amount stays roughly the same, but now you're getting an entire city police department that's providing 24/7 police protection to the citizens of Carrizo Springs, there's no such thing as a shortage of police officers. More police equals a safer community. That's been proven time and time again. So by eliminating their positions, you're making the community less safe.
Well, they're not.
The men and women of the Dimmitt County Sheriff's Department are stretched to their limits. They are working as hard as they can to try to provide as much coverage as they can. I guarantee you that the citizens are safer having more law enforcement on the streets than less.
Well, they didn't cut it out completely. You weren't here last night, but you were.
Yeah, they're going to have a city marshal service. What's the function of a city marshal service, do you know?
Typically, they don't do a lot of law enforcement. They typically do code compliance and citations, and they typically run 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. The high crime times is when the sheriff's department could use the extra help.
Well, when the city marshal was in place, when I was in office, it did not run this 9 to 5. Okay, there was one full-time and 2 part-time, and they did try. They did go and have the sheriff's department answer bold with them too.
So you're going to go from the number of officers in the city down to 53. You're going to cut the law enforcement in half. That doesn't make any sense if you're looking at it as a public safety issue. If you're looking at the protection of the citizens of Carrizo Springs, going with less police officers, less law enforcement, is never a good thing.
I just have to agree with you guys. I mean, we need a police department. You're right. We do need a police department. The question is, can the city of Carrizo Springs support that police department? It's not a matter of do we need them. We need them. No doubt about it. The more officers you have, the more safer that we all are. We have no problem with it. I have no problem with that. As a matter of fact, I told Brenda, which was the ex-mayor, I would love for you to have a police department. I would love for you to have a jail. I would love for you to have dispatching service, because then I have nothing to do with the city of Carrizo Springs, where I spend most of my time with my police officers. I would love it. But the question is it be supported? Right now we have to provide police protection for no money from the city.
So if I understand you right, you're willing to dedicate deputy sheriffs to stay within the confines of Carrizo Springs.
They always have.
No, sir, they go all over the county. You're going to put dedicated deputies where they don't leave the city limits.
I think that
And you're going to do it for free.
$150,000, I think provided for free deputies
So they will not leave the city ever. They'll be permanently assigned to the city.
They leave the city too. We call them out. They have to respond.
If they're called out. But barring an emergency where they have to be called out, they're not going to be responding to minor traffic accidents,
whatever
loose
police
cattle.
protection that we have to provide for our citizens.
And you're going to do it for
we'll
absolutely
have
free.
to provide it. We're going to do it free so that they can catch up with the budget. Because we know they have no. We know that they can't.
Until they can catch up with the budget, and then we're going to do it.
Yeah,
Okay, so again, until they can catch up with the budget,
how are they going to pay these people right now?
there's a number of ways that cities can raise money. I've seen it all over South Texas. There's a number of ways cities can raise money. Instead of just cutting out a police department, your number one money maker, why not do something to where you look at a 5% budget reduction in every city department, or maybe a 10% budget reduction in every
We
city
did it now.
department? I'm sorry?
10% last night.
Okay.
I want to enlighten me, if you may, on this. It was a proposed budget of last 2015, 14, 15. This was the amount for salaries, and it went up.
That's on the city clerk. Yeah, the city
And
clerk
then-
salaries went up. That's right.
And then the city manager side over here, salaries.
That went up. Or did they? No, they reduced that.
But it just, you can play with figures.
Yes.
You can allocate some funds here, reduce the others and stuff. So why, I wanted them to table this because I represent a lot of the senior citizens here in Carrizo. And a lot of them are concerned because they get knocks on doors at midnight and they're afraid. And I have to come here at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've called the city, the sheriff's department, and they do what they can. But there are times that I've been here before they arrive. and I've called them also. I commend all their work. I have nothing against the Sheriff's Department because they've been very useful to me and very helpful. But I also feel that we are a growing community, and we need to have the presence of the city police or officers or whatever here, because we are a growing community. And with that, we have a lot more challenges than we did before. Hi.
The question is, where's the money coming?
Got to figure out a way.
And the only way is
But according
double
to
and
last
triple your
night,
taxes, I guess.
the mayor had already
That's
said
not
that
true.
she had made up her
That's not
mind.
true. Like I said, if you look at the line items in the budget, I can say with a certain degree of confidence that when that line gets filled in for the Sheriff's Department, the amount of money that's going to be spent on law enforcement is going to be about the same with the city's budget. It's not going to, you're not going to save the cost of the department and their jobs. You're not going to save that. I guarantee you. I guarantee you that in 6 months we'll be standing here having the same conversation when that line gets filled in, and the alleged $400,000 or $500,000 savings will evaporate. It'll be back in the budget. It'll be back going to somewhere else, and the citizens will be less safe. There will be fewer officers patrolling the streets, but the money will be the same because that's what people do in budgets. They move things around and smoke and mirrors. They tell you that they're going to balance the budget, but next year they'll say the same thing. We have to balance the budget. We have to figure out a way to do that. We're not advocating raising people's taxes. What we're saying is that the funds that are already there be left there, left to pay for the officers, to provide the type of public safety that the citizens of Carrizo Springs deserve. You pointed it out, sir. The community grows. The bottom line is that you have a lot of people coming into the community from outside. The more people, typically speaking, the more law enforcement services are needed. And that's why you need more officers on the streets than less. If you go with reducing the number of officers, you inevitably lead to bigger problems. There isn't an agency, a police agency, a city, a county across America that will tell you that we've done better with less public safety.
That's right.
But okay, in the past, 3-4 months, how much did you lose on your sales tax? $7 million. So, county would have to probably do a budget because if they're losing money in the sales tax, that means the city's also losing their sales tax money too. It's going down. So, counter to say that I didn't say that our county, our city is not growing in leaps and bounds like it was when the oil field business was here. Oil field business has left. Several companies already left the community. People have left. You have man camps out there that people have left. I've had clients that used to work in the oil field that come in and they're no longer employed. So, but we're still here exactly. But to say that the community is growing.
I pose a simple question. What's more important, budget or public safety?
Well, public safety is, and that's a logical answer. But you need a budget for the public safety.
Yes, you need a budget for public safety, so why not keep the officers and look at alternative ways to reduce?
Okay, right now, the city has an issue with the wastewater treatment plant where they're going to have to come up with $5 million. So where do you expect that where our priority would lie right now? If our wastewater treatment goes out, guess what? Everybody's got backup. Everybody will come into contamination. We're talking about human life and protect safety. Okay. So right now, if they had the $5 million and they had the money to be able to do it, I don't think we'd be talking here right now. But it's all about the movie. There's no doubt that we need protection.
And that's what we're saying, that the money that's right now being expended on law enforcement is not going to change. The city is not going to save $300,000 or $400,000 in 6 months. I will say with a certain degree of confidence that the city will be spending the same amount of money in 6 months as they are today, and in a year, the same amount of money. It's smoke and mirrors. It is not going to reduce the amount of money spent on public safety. That will stay the same. This is a shell game. Where that money is going is the issue. That is the issue.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take these officers' jobs and the money that they get paid and put it somewhere else in public safety, you didn't save anything. You still spent the dollar. You just have 6 to 7 less officers on the streets. Okay.
So how do you explain that to all the employees that took that 10% cut across the board?
Well, we're not asking for a pay raise.
No, I'm not saying that. So how do you explain that to these employees that took that 10% cut that's affecting their families? Obviously, it's going to affect their families too. So how do you do that? Now we'll probably, some of these will be employees that might be leaving, so we'll have less people doing our services out there, picking up trash, fixing our roads, fixing our waterways. So
I agree. Less services is not a good
this is
thing.
basically what we're talking about, is a service.
And public safety is one of the key services that the city provides to its citizens.
So that's where the city has to do their balance.
But the balance isn't going to it's not going to change. It's not going to change. In 6 months, the money will still be the same. It's just where it's going. I guarantee it. There's no way that you can say that they're going to save $300,000 or $400,000 a year going forward to balance the budget. And let's agree to come back in 6 months and see how much money has been given to other law enforcement agencies. Come back in a year and do the same thing at the next budget. The money's not going to just stop being given. The $500,000 roughly that's being given right now to public safety will still be given to public safety. It may not be given to the Carrizo Springs Police Department, but it'll be given somewhere. Sheriff's Department, city marshals, wherever that money's going, it will still be the same amount of money. It's not going to be reduced. That's the promise that was made to the citizens last night, that we're going to dissolve our police department in order to save the costs of running the department. But that's not true, because you're not going to save any money. There's no way that this county is going to say, we're going to do this for free forever. So whether they get it tomorrow or in 6 months or a year, they're still going to get their $500,000. You'll just be down 3 officers.
Are you serious?
Won't it there's units going down, won't it liabilities of any kind of anything's happening and stuff like that? The county that'll ship over to the county. So anything that their officers might do or something like that,
Well,
it's on his shoulder, not the city.
Well, my understanding, though, is that there's a disagreement about whether the city's going to give its units to the county. I don't know if that's true or not. I was told that the commissioners are saying that they're not going to take the county. If the city's looking for a loan from the county, let them sell their police cars. They don't need anymore, so they don't have to borrow money from us. That's what we were told.
I'm just
So I
curious,
don't
sir.
know if that's true or not.
Are you with the city?
All I know is that there's a lot of numbers going on. There's a lot of premises that are being supported by information that's not true. That this supports an issue.
Are you with the city, sir?
No,
I'm just curious.
private citizens.
Private citizen, all right. So what's troubling to me is we don't even have a city official here representing, explaining it, but you're not saying anything.
No, I'm not saying it.
I know you're not. So we got a county judge here that's, not to bring discredit on you, but I mean, why? This is obviously a big deal for the county. It's more revenue for the county.
It is a big deal because
Yes, it is.
I want the city to provide police protection, but they can't. So I'm having to do it.
They can, and they have been. They've been paid for themselves.
No, they can't.
They've
So
been paid for
you don't know
themselves.
the half of it.
I know what I see in the budget.
The budget is
I know what I see.
I don't know how I feel about these people because they try their best.
I know what I see in ticket revenue. I know what I see.
That's not the whole thing about law enforcement. It's not
No,
only
sir, it's
tickets.
not the whole thing about it. So is
You're
your
talking
arrest
about.
record. So is public
we're talking
safety.
about
So we're
work,
policing
we're
for
talking
profit?
about these
Sir?
things.
So we're policing for profits?
No, sir, we're not policing
You said,
for profit.
I'm seeing the citations coming in.
I'm seeing revenue from you. No, sir, you're asking me about balancing a budget. I'm saying revenue is being coming in.
What we're trying to say is that they're not costing money. They're not a for-profit organization. But what we're saying is that the judge keeps going back. It's the balance. It's the balance. Well, what we're saying is that there is a balance within the police department. You can't say that they're just taking and not giving. The community does receive resources from the revenues that are generated from citations. But the bottom line is that the budget, which is the only document that the public gets to see, they don't get to see what happens in executive session. They don't get to see what happens behind closed doors. The only thing the only document that the citizens get to see is the budget. And when the budget comes out, leaving blank lines in the budget and telling the citizens that the balance, the same money that they're expending on these officers is going to be spent somewhere else. It's going to be spent in other public
The
safety.
fact that the finance director is saying entries are being deleted, doesn't that raise any flags? I mean, we're deleting possible revenue or expenditures. Where's that money going?
Some of those were put into other line items.
Some.
Most of the time, and that's just a general practice that they do from one. If something's over budget, they put it into another line.
With all respect, I've been dealing with municipal budgets for the last 7 years. I can tell you exactly what they do. They put it however they want to put it to peaceful. Put it where they want it to be satisfied people. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm saying there's a lot of misleading information that was put out last night, and I mean it was even clear from your own finance.
There's a lot of misleading information we put out right now.
We got the budget back up over there. They've got
And that's what we're arguing, it's just the budget.
Wait till they have what we had like 12 years ago, where one of our sheriffs here was murdered. We're still paying for that. It cost us over $1 million.
That's our point exactly. More public safety, the better.
Exactly.
More officers, the safer the community. I don't want to see any citizen get
expenses.
murdered.
How is the city going to cover those undisclosed expenses when they get sued for whatever? The people sue you for just about anything.
But any county worker can sue. And
So I'm saying
if
those
they're acting in
are the
accordance with
expenses
their duties as
that we're not
police
looking at
officer.
here. So there's more to just paying salaries. There's a lot more
But you're
than just
talking
paying
about what
salaries.
if? What if we get sued? What if this?
So you're talking
We've been
about what
sued.
if we need them here? What if we don't need them? So we're all talking about what if.
But it's clear they're needed by their arrest record, by the citation record. It's clear that they're being effective. I mean, 114 arrests in 9 months, that's pretty good. Identity theft, forgeries, I mean, that's robbery. Yes, that's a pretty good record. I mean, pretty much speaks for itself. Judge, with all respect, this is nothing personal with you. This is just
Nothing
business.
personal with us. I just
But,
want the general public to get the true picture of why, what I believe, is what they told me, why they shut down. Because it's nothing about they don't like any one of these people. If they do want them, if they do need them, they have sustain. It's easy to create a police department. The question is, can it be sustained? Sustainability is where the fund comes in.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Sustainability. Can you sustain the That's the main question. And according to them, the answer is no. I don't think it's true. I just think it's turning over.
Judge, it's our position. I think community is safe for these officers on the job.
I'm with you.
And it's also our position that
I'm with you 100%.
the money that's paying for them right now in the budget is still going to be there, and it's going to be disseminated to somebody else. These officers are losing their jobs. The money that's funding them isn't being saved by the city or the county. The money's being expended somewhere else. Future budgets will prove that out.
It's not being saved by the city, but it's being expended by the county.
Well, it's not being saved by the city, and that's our point. If it's not being saved by the city,
They're not paying anything.
we'll see what the budget says in 6 months or a year.
Well, a year maybe, but not 6 months.
If they give you the $350,000 or $400,000 tomorrow, or they give you the $350,000, $400,000 in 6 months, or they give you the $350,000 or $400,000 next year, at the end, they still spent $350,000, $400,000, whether they give it to you now or later.
So, but $350 cannot support it.
That's what's supporting them now.
But just their salaries.
The budget is providing all of the resources that the department is utilizing right now. What we're saying is that
That is not true.
How are they paying for it?
They need jail, they need dispatching, and that's
why do they need a jail?
Because they don't have a jail.
They don't need a jail.
What?
Code of
The
criminal
county
procedure.
jail,
That's the
San
county
Antonio police, Laredo police, county jail.
City jail.
You would think they would work together.
They have the mayor's office, and then they go to the county jail.
Wait a second. And the code of criminal procedure is very clear. The county, the sheriff in particular, it's his job to maintain the jail. The county maintains the jail. They don't build a city for it. The only time cities will build for jail space is if they arrest somebody on a Class C offense. Okay, they're not arresting on Class C offenses. They're arresting on Class B and higher. And so that's the county's responsibility. Sir?
If it's not
No, Class C's are citations. You give a ticket for it. We don't arrest them usually for Class C.
And that's the question you asked that it seemed like nobody from the city was here to answer any questions. I want to ask, where's the chief of police?
Chief of police is under a gag order. Your city council has told them they can't talk to the media. They called him yesterday, every one of them, and told them you can't talk to the media. That's where he's at. I think we're going to have to agree to disagree. It is what it is. I hope the citizens come out and speak their minds.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money. And nothing on the record. Respect anybody.
Thanks, folks.
See, can you give me that? Did you have any other questions? Did you have any other questions?
No, it's just basically the money thing. I mean, that's the biggest thing that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Is, I mean, people, we do need the police department and everything else, and everybody's in agreement with that. We don't want to get rid of it, but we can't afford it according to what they're saying.
But you just heard the judge say that maybe right now they're not going to bill them anything, but in a few months, at some point in time.
Well, no, I mean, they went down 10%. You know, they went down 10% across the board. Everything went down 10%. The employee pay went down 10%. The bills, everything went down 10%.
When did that happen? I'm just curious.
Last night.
But for the upcoming budget. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, for this coming budget. Yes, they're going to take that 10% and save it. You know, because up to now they're saying that we have half a month. I mean, I've got the video.
I understand.
Yeah, but you know what we need is we don't need people to tell us that we need a police department because we already know that. We know that. We need people to provide financial help to help us keep it.
I don't know if you ever heard of the police department. I don't think this police department has one because they're not. I don't think they've been empowered with it yet. But they can do asset forfeitures. They could actually become a self-sustaining police department, except for salaries. But uniforms, vehicles, vehicle fuel, all that stuff. There's a lot of drugs here. I mean, they've already proven they've made some drug deals, but they're not doing asset forfeiture. They're not doing seizures. Under law, if they do these seizures, it's a process that goes through court, but at some point within a few months, that money, if it's cash or property, houses, cars, whatever items it is, can be seized. That can all be seized by the police department. These items that are seized, that can all be put in for auction. Some departments have 2 auctions a month. In San Juan, Texas, 2 auctions a month. The police department itself, when they seize cash, that goes into a fund that's controlled by the police department. It doesn't go into the general fund. It goes to the police department, to the chief. Natalia, Texas, perfect example. Natalia, Texas, roughly about the same size city, about the same size police department. They fund their entire police department budget, with the exception of salaries, strictly off of asset forfeitures. Every vehicle that's owned is owned because of an asset forfeiture. The city didn't spend a penny on it. In Kingsville, Texas, for the last, I don't know, I've been negotiating their collective bargaining agreement for the last 9 years. They have never spent money on a vehicle. Every car they have, or every whatever they're driving now, or SUV they have, it's all been purchased with asset forfeiture money. But this police department hasn't been given the green light to do asset forfeitures. There's other ways. My point is just simply this. I understand budgets, but there's other ways to save money. There's other ways to reduce spending. There's other ways to purchase equipment than just getting rid of the whole department. So, and I invite you to, if you are so inclined, to contact Kingsville or Natalia, and hear from them, hear directly, because they can fund it that way, sir. They can fund it.
Hello and goodbye.
It can be done.
You said that
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.